everybody. Uh, can you just let me know if you can all hear me? Now I'm talking. Okay, so hope you'll have a great afternoon. We have another expert talk. As you can see, our expert is called Katerina Riviou, and she's working in a private school here in Greece called Ellinogermaniki Agogi. And she's working in the research department of that school. She has participated in several projects related to education and training, many European projects, and she has done a great job on that. So I invited here today to talk to us about how you can design and evaluate your activities at school in eTwinning, and universal design for learning principles. But I will let the floor to Katerina. It's an topic, and she can actually share with us all her expertise, and we can use that in our project. So thank you for accepting our invitation, Katerina, and you can go ahead.
Good evening to everybody. Can you hear me? No? Okay, great. Thank you. I'd like to thank Irini for the invitation. And yes, today we will refer to some projects and to the UDL network, and aiming to address UDL, and we can see our approach towards designing and evaluating educational activities, the application of UDL principles. I don't know if you have heard of UDL before. You might already applying these principles to your teaching practice and not being aware of it. Today we will make a reference to it, and we will demonstrate our approach and our goals with the UDL network. I hope you can also see the presentation that I have uploaded here. So let's proceed. We will make a short reference to UDL, to the background of the field, and what are the principles and the guidelines set by CAST. And you can see how we can work in communities of practice, and how we can share and exchange resources and educational activities. We can see some examples of scenarios addressing these principles. Here is a picture showing the educational systems in countries. I don't know if it's clear. I'm going to read what is mentioned here. For a fashion, everybody has to take the same example. Live event 3. So we can see the various students, and we can see there is a great variability among them. Though the teacher applies the same activities for all of them, and is that equal? Is that fair for students? So universal design was originally referring to designing buildings, products, and environments accessible to all sections of society, in aged and those with disabilities of all kinds. So this is an example of architecture. You can see a building and the stairs, how we can apply or universal design for not the learning part does not exist in this example, but how we can design the example and the routes, considering the variability and the various needs that people might have in order to access a building. Universal Design for All was a European initiative associated with ICT, and was about designing and delivering inclusive products. You might have heard about the Web Accessibility Initiative. That's this idea, and it's able to produce ICT goods that can be accessed to potential users without modification or the least possible modification. Are open and easy to adapt to the different needs and can be accessed simply by using assistive technologies. And the learning part came to the universal design. We have the universal design for learning. So the concept, as it's transferred to the education field, and it's applied to the learning process and the learning environments. It's grounded on new research in neuroscience and constitutes an educational approach that promotes access, participation, and progress in the general curriculum for all learners, with an aim to address inclusion. Here we can see the three different networks, brain networks, recognition networks. It's what of learning. The networks, it's the how of learning, and the affective networks, it's the way of learning. And take into consideration the existence of these three brain networks. We, as teachers, as educators, to present information and content in different ways, differentiate the ways that the students can experience what they know, what they manage, what they achieved, stimulate their interest and motivation for learning. This information also available and on the website, and you can have further information there. And we can see the guiding principles of UDL, and CAS has provided specific guidelines and checkpoints that to consider when we design educational activities. So based on the three brain networks and based on these principles, we have main guidelines, and each one of these guidelines has some checkpoints that you might need to consider in order to achieve your aim. In order to have resourceful and eligible students that are goal-directed and that they're motivated towards achieving the learning goals. Here is the graph containing all these checkpoints, and there are, let's say, all the guidelines and checkpoints that you can address, but don't worry, you deliver all of them in all of your lessons. What you need to do is try to address them and adapt your design of educational activities. Let's proceed a little bit and see how we can redesign our curricula in order to address these parameters. So UDL makes assumption that curricula need to be flexible and adaptable, and that one size doesn't fit all. In order to develop the skills and the knowledge and the attitudes of our students, in order to become expert learners, We need to have these broad characteristics in mind. We need to make the necessary provisions and adaptations so they are goal-directed, so that they have a motive to learn, to provide multiple media and many kind of resources in order to address their needs and previous knowledge, and give them the necessary motivation in order to read and achieve the learning goals. So I mentioned before, UDL, when we design our educational activities addressing UDL, we want to address the barriers of learning, and the primary barrier for UDL is the inflexible curricula. So for you, it's the students who are disabled rather than the curricula when they are one size and we want them to fit all our students. When we design activities and the UDL principles, we need to cater for flexible goals, methods, materials, and assessments, so as to address the variability of our students, because since all human beings have different fingertips, this is also the case of learning. In order to accessible digital materials, there are four core characteristics that these resources need to address. They need to be versatile, transformable, marked, and network. And there, the use of technology is really helpful, because if we use electronic resources and materials, we can provide these characteristics. For example, we can have resources that are networked with each other. We can provide for resources that are marked. That means that students can visit core sources, or they can look for skills, and they can be provided with multiple media, for example, in auditory form, in visual form, or in text form. So technology gives us power and strength, and gives us the flexibility to adapt the resources with our students, and not be closed and restricted with printed media and printed text. And what we have seen is that there is a difficulty in implementing UDL on a large scale, although somebody understands the potential of UDL. And in cases, it's good to collaborate with colleagues, with other tutors, in order to address these principles. This is a picture from a study by OECD, and you can see that nowadays teachers, except from participating in courses and workshops face-to-face, there is a huge tendency in participating in online and digital communities in order for them to participate in professional development activities. So, the communities, building communities between teachers and groups of practitioners, something that I want to achieve with our initiatives and projects, and with the specific network that we are about, UDLNet. So there is the website. You can go there and see more information about our goals our aims, and the different activities that take place in the partner countries. A network of educators, learners, and education stakeholders like teacher trainers, teachers, and policymakers. We aim to offer a platform of best practices, sharing resources, and for the continued professional development of teachers. Aim to raise awareness around UDL and help teachers improve their practice, ICT skills with innovations in pedagogy, curriculum, and institutional organization to benefit the students. These are the long-term target group in order to develop their full potential. The consortium consists of 9 partners from 10 countries. EA coordinator of this network, and I'm going to mention briefly the other partner from Greece is the National and Kapodistrian University. We have a partner from Cyprus. We have 2 partners from Ireland, NHL University from Netherlands. We have a partner from Germany, CEFAS, and Spain. Information is available on our website, and depending on your country, you might be the respective partner. Activities is the collection of good practices on the theme of inclusive education. The organization of pilots and implementation activities, dissemination of these activities, and networking through other initiatives and projects. Our goal is to address 4 key themes of UL in order to provide a pathway for universal design. So the themes that we're working on is about the learning environment, it's about the provision of resources addressing UDL principle, about teacher competencies, and the examination of barriers and opportunities for applying UDL. And we are collaborating with another big European initiative, Open Discovery Space, a big pilot project, and all European countries participate there. So done is that we have created a community on the theme of UDL. So all interested people can register there, can log in there, see the available materials, and exchange and share your resources and practices. And our goal is to create sub-communities under the English community, national ones, and so that we address the language barrier that exists in teachers of different countries. Yes, has also some other functionalities, among from searching and sharing resources. Can have access to training academies, addressing teachers and other education stakeholders. And there is a toolbox where we can find descriptions of popular teaching methods. We also make a reference to the UL guidelines and checkpoints provided by us. Another outcome of our activities, because UDLnet is actually progressing and things are under development, developed an inventory for practices so that you can see what other countries apply, teachers from other countries, how they address UDL. You find media resources and collection of resources addressing UDL. And here you can see URL of this inventory. So to support the specific community of practice and in order to ease and support the creation and sharing of educational activities, we have the approach. We have taken some popular teaching approaches. There are some indicative ones. For example, the project-based learning, the storytelling, the discovery, problem-based learning, and cooperative learning. And we have provided descriptions. These are all available in the glossary of teaching approaches, and you can have a look. And what we also try to do is to describe these approaches in a standardized way, in the format of a template. Teachers can have these templates available online, and they can, based on these templates, design their own activities and share them in the context of the community, apply them in their classroom, and exchange comments and this with other colleagues. You will have access to this presentation afterwards, and you will have the opportunity to have these links. So here is a YouTube video. I'm not going to demonstrate it now, but these courses are also available online. So you can have a view of project learning, and we will mention it quite a few in this presentation because projects, this specific teaching approach is a good chance to apply UDL, provide to the teacher the freedom to adapt and adjust goals and give students the opportunity to set the ways that they express what they have achieved. And if you have a look there, you can see that giving such freedom to students, that's a way of providing them with multiple means of engagement and motivated to the learning. So project-based learning is useful because it can also promote collaborative and collaboration between students, and it can help construct knowledge and critical thinking, and of course it associates knowledge with authentic activities, and this context is very useful in order to keep students motivated to the learning. Figure illustrating the approach of project-based learning. We have the different phases, and we can see that students can collaborate in teams, and they can peer assess and assess. They can have they can choose the way that they want to demonstrate that they have achieved their learning with a public presentation in the end of the project. A very useful component in this process is e-portfolios. Teaching and individual students, it's useful to have e-portfolios, and these are also it's a way to keep of their own progress and their own learning, and this to the second principle of UDL, and more specifically the vision of options for executive functions, so that we have goal-directed learners. Here is a presentation of the steps for defining a learning scenario and how we approach this procedure in the context of UDLNet and ODS. So you can search for existing scenarios. You can readapt them and adjust them to the needs of your students and your context and your national curriculum. And you can associate specific resources with learning activities that you want to deliver. And the final step is sharing your scenario with colleagues around Europe. About this process and this definition, a learning scenario describes the educational activities we implement in class. A story about people, about the teacher and the students and the activities they implement. And scenarios refer to the learning goals we have when we design them, and it's composed of specific resources, the actual resources that we are using with our students. So before, our approach is that we have some templates and some descriptions that can help you share and reuse activities in the different contexts you might have. For example, project-based learning approach has been described with a formal template, composing of 5 phases and sub-phases. When you want to design and share your projects that you deliver with the students, all you have to do is associate specific resources with these learning activities. For example, when you organize your in teams, into groups, when you present new questions, when you want to trigger their interest, might, for example, associate a specific video that you find available or something that you create by yourself. Second activity, the present of the new question. Yeah, I guess it's a lot of information, but these resources will be available online, and you can have a look at them later at your own pace. And in case you have some questions or whatever, you can come back to me for further information and clarifications. So, actually, you can find templates for many additional approaches, and you can have a preview of them and select the ones that apply to your setting and context. And you can register, for example, in the specific community about UDL, and you have a look at the scenarios and the resources that exist on ODS portal. They apply in different subdomains and different discipline. And interdisciplinary learning is particularly important if we want to have good results, good learning outcomes with students. So one of the issues that you need to consider when you design these activities for your students is how you can address their variability from the very beginning. Considering that there is no average student, that there is great differentiation between the needs and the previous knowledge that they might have. So you need to take advantage of this variability, and rather than thinking of individual strengths and weaknesses, you need to consider from early beginning how you can provide multiple means of presenting information, multiple ways of engagement for your students, and how you can provide them with multiple means of action and expression. And as we said before, for example, in the case of projects, you can give them the freedom to, for example, whether they would like to produce a written report or some auditory or something visual or theatrical play or role playing, things like that. On the portal, you can find examples of scenarios that you might find useful and that you might want to apply also. And for example, here is a area about introduction to play. And it's actually a scenario designed for participating in the winter school that we did last year. And so two colleagues have been collaborated in order to author the specific scenario. It's multilingual and it's connected with the national curriculum. All these functionalities are available through the use of the ODS authoring tool. Another example of a scenario, it's about making bridges. Here the teacher writes a screenshot about the team formation technique that he has used for setting the students in groups. So he has assigned some roles, for example, facilitator, the artist, the IT expert, the scientist, and the analyst. And students have chosen the role that they would like to have in these teams when implementing the project. And here is an example of the first coordinator of the team setting randomly the other roles for his her team. Thus, we can have some heterogeneous teams working in projects with different levels and different interests. And as we said, keeping students engaged and interested and having them the freedom to select the role in the projects is very useful in order for them to achieve their learning goals. Here are some tips for applying project-based learning. For example, the number of students for composing the teams. It's better that these are heterogeneous in terms of achievement and competencies. And are examples of products and results that the students need to deliver when finalizing a project in order to demonstrate that they have achieved the learning goals. For example, a written report or a poster, a film, or something handy, an artifact produced them. Other examples are the organization of an event, and very useful is also the opening of all to the community, having the presentation of the project outcomes to the public, to the parents, to other stakeholders, because this keeps students engaged and gives possibility of their process. and actions, and that keeps them engaged. So in this process, we have different steps of evaluation that is formative when students implement their projects, or the summative format in the end when when students present the final outcomes of their activities. Another issue that we address when we design the evaluation of the project and the outcomes, a useful technique in order to provide authentic assessment is rubrics. In order to keep our students engaged and motivated, it's really helpful if we design with them the procedure of assessment. If we design and co-define with them criteria for assessment at the different grades. For example, here is an example that we have 4 criteria and with weights for each one of them and scales of performance. And what is important is to have this process um, really the initial design of the project and students being part of this procedure in order for them to know what will be the criteria for their assessment. An example of a rubric that can be used, for example, for evaluation of the planning process and the implementation. Other than providing teachers with resources in the form of the digital communities available online, we will implement and organize other events, either face-to-face in the format of training workshops or 5 days course, or in the format of webinars, such as the specific one. And we also organize contests regarding, for example, the design of educational activities with award mechanisms, because we feel that enough teachers and when teachers just change agents, they need to be rewarded in order to the procedure of the innovation, implement innovation in their schools and in their context. Here I have some examples of activities that have been already implemented for the summer school that took place last July in Greece, and teachers from all around Europe have participated there. And it's important is that we make available online all the activities and the presentations and workshops delivered, and what teachers actually implement and design is also available online for you to have a look at. And screen these activities. In the context of UDL.net, there is a conference taking place actually next Saturday in Cyprus. So in case you are close by, you are invited to participate there, and you will have the opportunity to listen more about universal design for learning, about practices, their implementation in Cyprus and around Europe through our invited guests, and also some parallel workshops regarding UDL. And also this July, we intend to organize our second summer school at specific a dedicated website for it, udlnet.ea.gr, and teachers all around Europe are invited to participate, and you can get funded for attending it through the Erasmus Plus um, K, KA1 mobility action. So the application is quite close, the 4th of March, and you can find more information on the site about how you can apply and more information about the tentative program and later for it. And interested, available online courses that you might want to have a look at these materials about how you can design, prepare, and review our teaching activities. And are now in the process of collecting best practices from universal design for learning activities, and an implementation period will follow where we are asking people to practice based on these resources and come back to us with feedback about the implementation and their classrooms. And here are and all the links to the communities and our repository. You can have a look at these materials and come back to us in case you have any questions. A list of the presentations and publications we have delivered, and that was all. It was rather compact, I guess, and a lot of new information. So here is my email in order I would like to address specific requests or questions. Irini?
Yeah, it was very interesting. Really, thank you very much. And as a matter of fact, we are working on these different pedagogical methods that you mentioned with the eTwinning European ambassadors nowadays with a specific group. So we are going to create something like a guide for the eTwinning projects. I just have a question from Frederick that he asked before that about the rubrics that you show. What are we assessing here, the project as a whole, the groups, or individual students? So it's a question before that.
Well, when we design for evaluation, we usually have multiple levels of addressing. So we need to evaluate the teamwork, but also the individual work. And to this end, we can motivate our students in order to have personal portfolios as well as team ones, to keep track of the progress that they do, of the meetings that have, the steps implement towards the implementation, and we can have other than the teacher assessing students, we have peer assessment. That means the teams of students assessing each other, and then and providing thoughts and comments in order to further work in projects. And we teachers, other than evaluating the teamwork, then can go in depth and see how individual students have contributed to the teamwork through evaluating their individual portfolios. And usually the let's say, of the individual members of the community is an average of the team. I don't know if it was clear.
Yeah, and Frederick is writing there. So in the teams that we are assessing, the students are not all assessing the teacher and how the teacher have designed the learning project.
Oh, you went a step further by adding the assessment of the teach by students. To my point of view, this is also very useful as another component because teachers need to self-reflect in any case of the activities and their work. So teachers need to examine after delivering their activities whether the intended outcomes have been achieved or not. And there are different indicators for that. One, the grades of the students, or more generic, whether the learning goals have been achieved. And other is, of course, getting feedback from the students. To that is from the evaluation of students or the discussion we can do with our students to see what it worked, what it didn't, and how we can improve.
Yeah, in the comments, and Vasiliki said have to look at it in more detail online. You know, the things that because they were very, many information and many nice tools that we can use actually in our work how to plan a lesson, and as is also very important. Frederick is mentioning again.
Yes.
I don't know there are more questions. Any more questions for Katerina? Accessed by the students through a digital form or in the asking.
To us to design this, yeah, could be, but I read that our focus is how we as a teachers we can participate in professional development activities through other through participation in these communities and communities of practice, and we can design the learning activities that we deliver to our students and the goals and the assessment, adding the students' variability. And of course, getting feedback from our students is one aspect, but that was not, the main focus of the presentation today. In any case, it's up to us to organize this whole procedure. For example, we combine with our students the evaluation criteria for the project work, for their activities. We can design, for example, with them how they can come back to us with feedback regarding our work and our teaching practice. And we, for example, them giving us feedback, any portfolio tool, for example. It's really up to us.
Okay, if the template examples are designed for different subjects.
You go to the portal, you can see that there are templates that specific fields, for example, science, you can see that there are 5 or 6 templates specifically designed for science, but there are other approaches that are interdisciplinary. Project-based learning is an interdisciplinary one. There are templates for language learning. Uh, so it's really up to the approaches. And as you might know, things in science are more or less standardized. For example, problem-based learning, or how you implement inquiry-based learning. But for example, in other fields, for example, in social sciences, things not so advanced. I mean, there are not standardized approaches yet for them. So they can find more generic approaches like PBL or, for example, storyline approach. But I think it would be useful if you go to the glossary and there and see all the approaches described and the fields of application. You can find examples of practice, and there are also helpful materials and other resources, for example, videos from application, and on these textual descriptions and materials. Then you can have a look and a preview of these templates and see if they fit to your practice or to the activities you want to design for your students. And as we mentioned today, it's really useful to design addressing the variability that your students have, having this in mind from the early beginning. For example, if you want to motivate them and it took their interest, for example, that you might find an interesting video on YouTube, and for example, that for students that they are not the type that for information, how you can also provide them with text description, with transcript of the video, how the story information needs to be there, and in case that you have students with specific needs, special needs that might be assistive technology can help you towards delivering all these materials to your students, because technology gives you the power to present the information with media and in multiple formats. But other than presentation of information, how you can design the events and the activities in order to keep them engaged and motivated during the context, finding some authentic context to implement activities.
Okay, having a look at the chat and have a lot of discussion there. So there was a question if there are subjects for preschool children and if they can find something about art. And
Sure. Yes. You have a look at OES because it's a harvester and an aggregator of educational content. And as I mentioned before, all European countries apply. You can search for resources or scenarios, and one of the criteria is, for example, the subject field. You can also find resources that are hosted in other repositories, For example, the national aggregator in case of Greece is Photovedro, and Photovedro is linked to Open Discovery Space. So from ODS, you can search even resources that exist in other repositories, applying to many fields, and scenario activities could be addressing one or more subject fields. Of course, you can have a look at the inventory we are building in the context of UDLNet and see the practices that are being uploaded there. And you can find, for example, some guidelines about how you can design accessible materials on the web or even in format of documents or PDF files in case you have some with special educational needs.
Yeah, great. And I'm just reading the chat. So as Olivia says, it's up to us, it's up to the teachers, and the more involved the students get, the more creative they feel. So it's just up to us to start trying new ideas and things in the classroom to make, suppose, a lesson interesting not only for the kids but also for us as well. So I don't know if there are no more questions. I just have to say that Fran said that they need, as I said, we will need time to solve the material in UDLNet. So after that, we can arrange another meeting with you so you can answer all the questions that will come up with that. Found it really interesting. So thank you very much, Katerina. You get lots of food for thought with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellinogermaniki, for your invitation, and I would like to thank all participants and for questions. And I'm at your disposal for further questions, and I would be gladly having another such session with you. Hello.
So have all a nice evening, and we will talk again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.